When Seekers of Gold, Chapter 1 was first published on the internet, I just moved to Joy Street and was working like mad trying to sell it for a living on the internet. At this time, I was contacted via email by a mysterious prospector calling himself Acorn Bob and claiming to hold the secret to the location of Slumach Jackson Lost Creek Gold Mine. He then told me he had a skill testing question to ask me, and if I answered correctly, that he would let me further in on the secret. I of course agreed to his terms, and the question he then asked me was the following. When Shotwell went in to search for the gold, what was the name of his partner? He asked. For me, this was not much of a question. I was very familiar with the Golden Mountains, which I was to learn was one of Acorn Bob's Bibles, and is the Bible and has been the Bible of many prospectors since and before. My answer to Acorn Bob was Harrington, and I passed his test with flying colors. The next thing was a phone call from Acorn himself. Hello, I answered the phone nervously. Hello, Daryl, a very deep, commanding voice said. I've been following your activities for some time online, and you do get around, he says. Well, I've been on the search for most of my life, I answered. Not just the Lost Mine search, but the search for lost treasure, lost gold, whatever. B-25 bombers. I see that. Now tell me, Daryl, where do you think the Lost Mine is? Terra Rosa Glacier, was my answer. Wrong, he replied. You have heard of Stuart Brown, right? I asked. Stuart found something, but it was not where he told that cocksucker Don Wade it was, Acorn said with anger in his voice. I was taken a little back by his comment about Don Wade. At this point in my life, Don Wade was a good friend. He had opened up to me tons about the Lost Mine. He'd shared his info with me, and he was, in my eyes, kind of a mentor. He would, of course, ruin this down the road. It turned out, as I was to learn, I was not the only one who he would hurt on his own quest to record this legend. Don Waite showed me tons of info about the Lost Mine, I said, in Don's defense. You know him? Acorn says with mistrust in his voice. Yes, I've met him many times, and why do you think Terra Rosa is the wrong location? This was my faith and belief at the time, so hearing doubt about it broke my heart a little. I talked to Stuart Brown on the phone myself. I interviewed him. Listened to his voice. Does he sound like someone who's not telling the truth? I can play you the conversation if you want to hear it. Well, let me tell you something, Daryl. What if I told you Stuart Brown was using Terra Rosa Glacier as a front? His real destination was actually Corbald Creek. Corbald, I gasped. That's where they were first looking for it. W.A. McDonald, I said, the guy who claimed to have found Jackson's location. But he claimed there was no gold in the Corbald area. He was lying. He found gold, Acorn said. I'm looking where no one is looking. Now, that's not to Stuart... I am looking where no one is looking. Now, that's not to Stuart Brown's red herring Terra Rosa Glacier. Also, Tiny Allen, the guy who claimed to have looked down into the canyon and saw a massive tent-shaped rock as Jackson described. He was looking into Corbald Canyon as well as Clayton Gadsby, I said. When I said the name Clayton Gadsby, the line on the phone went silent. I met him once, I then added. Then I remembered it. A secret that I had myself had been sitting on since the early winter of 1992. Yeah, he said, and what happened? Well, maybe we should meet in person and discuss it, I suggested. Listen, Daryl, I'll be home tomorrow evening. My address is Little Beach Resort Trailer Park in Hatzick. He's dead now, so it doesn't matter. Can you come out here? My car is having issues. Sure, I can do that. I'll see you then. Okay, he said, hanging up quickly. The following evening, I drove out to Matsui and the Little Beach Trailer Park where Acorn Bob was living. It was a cold evening. Heavy clouds hung over the snow-covered mountains. As I drove by and looked at the mountains, I thought about all the secrets that they were hiding. I thought back to my lost friendship and started on this quest, see Seekers of Gold. As I was driving, images of a giant rock being pummeled under a waterfall came into my mind as I approached the little beach resort that was not really a resort, but a run-down trailer park next to the now frozen, muddy Hackstick Slough. I turned off on a gravel road looking for the mobile home that was Acorn Bob's house, and I found it tucked away beyond trees in the frozen forest. A very old Monte Carlo sat in the driveway. I had flashbacks to my own Monte Carlo, a car that I drove long ago through the storms of the winter of 1996. As I pulled into Acorn Bob's driveway and my headlights lit up his trailer, I saw his shadow at the door. I saw an old man, and as I got out of the truck and walked towards the door, I was very nervous. He opened the door. "Hello, Daryl," he said, looking at me. He looked frail, but he had a determination in his voice. "Come in," he said, showing me off to the side of his house and into his office, which was like a collection of things from his life. The room was old. It felt damp and smelt of cigarette smoke. Not that I minded. I was smoking at the time, and when he lit one up, I didn't mind. I sat down and took one out and had a smoke with Acorn Bob in silence for a few moments. "Nice to meet you, Daryl. You look fatter than in your picture." "Thanks. You look older and meaner than you sound." He looked at me and he started to laugh loudly. "You can call me Kaiser," he says now. "Now how the fuck did you meet Clayton Gadsby?" And he says. I sat down taking a drag from my cigarette. "Well, I was tracking down everyone about the lost mine. He was the last one I tracked down. It was the winter of 1992. My old prospecting partner Sean Greba and I had just finished staking Spindle Canyon, and the next year was going to be the year of Terra Rosa. This, of course, was never to happen. But I met Clayton, and he told me something I already knew, the location of where Clayton was working from claim charts you could get from the mining office downtown Vancouver. And as a matter of fact, I think I have the original claim chart right here." I reach into my bag and pull out the map, showing it to Kaiser, who looks at it with great wonder. "You see, Daryl, when Gadsby was going in there, he was using his claim for a front. He was tapping the gold on the other side of Old Pierre Mountain, which is right here. Then he made it look like he was taking gold out of this claim here. When he told me about something else that he found when he was in there, he swore me to secrecy, that I could not talk about it until he had died." "And what might that be?" Kaiser looks at me with a smug look, taking out a cigarette and lighting up. "Go on, I'm listening," he says, sitting back in his chair. "Well, he told me that when he was in there, he found a cave, and inside the cave he found bodies, and more than one body. There were dead prospectors in there, gold pans and picks scattered across the floor. He said as he looked around in amazement at what he found, started to feel weak and dizzy, and being a man of underground knowledge, he was being poisoned by carbon dioxide. The invisible gas is known to collect in caves. As he looked around, he saw skeletons and bones. Was one of the skulls volcanic browns? He then told me he had a picture and that he could show it to me for only a second. He had an old school slide projector, and he showed me a very quick pic, and what I saw was a backpack, a rib cage, a skull, and as well as what looked like a gold pan and a piece of yellow. But it was mind-blowing, and I was convinced he was telling me the truth. This is a great story, Daryl. How many people have you told about this? You should keep your mouth shut from now on," he says, giving me an evil look. "Want to smoke, Daryl?" he says, grinning and giving me a roll-your-own cigarette. I was not smoking at the time, but I soon cracked and lit it up, and man, was it ever good. But when I am not convinced of if Stuart Brown was ever there. "Yeah, he was," Kaiser says, sounding confident. "Read the letters. There is one that mentioned he saw vehicles with American plates near the location. Can you drive to the location on Terra Rosa? Do you know a location on Terra Rosa?" "Yes, I do. I met one of Stuart Brown's old prospecting partners, Rob Nicholson. He showed me the location. It's a hell of a hike from Fire Lake. He also had an interview with Stuart Brown that tells a hell of a lot. But Stuart acts like he does not know who Jackson is, or what Jackson is not important, not really, is the so-called tent-shaped rock. Also, an inspection of the Terra Rosa location via air recon shows it's not really a canyon, but the quartz and the rust in the rock down where Stuart Brown claims you can pull nuggets from behind of is there. The location does not look like it was one found by Jackson." "Well, you know there is such a place if you read his letters. Google Stuart Brown letters Slumach. But you read them close, he was nowhere near Corbould. Why try and take Don Waite in through Fire Lake like he did? Fire Lake is nowhere near Corbould. It's up near Terra Rosa where he was taking Don. He has the location of the mine right in front of him and he does not know it. He even took a picture of it and does not know it, the bastard. Ha ha, Kaiser laughs. Don Waite, the backstabber. You know he stabbed Stuart back in the end, don't you? Yeah, I know Stu told him not to publish his letters and he went ahead and did it anyway. Well, you know, it was a huge story to sit on. He stabbed him in the back, Kaiser gasps. Imagine if he hadn't. Maybe Stu's letters never would have got out. Think about how much they would have made the legend grow. How they have helped you believe in the lost mine. You have a good point, but Don Waite is still a fucker. He has this fucking CD-ROM that has a pic of the location on it. Why has he not gone in for the gold like Stuart before him? I've seen it on stereoscopic photos. It's the big orange rust you can see from the air. Where is Corbold do you think the mine is? Because when you fly over Gatsby's claim, you can clearly see what he saw, and what he saw was what Jackson saw. When Jackson says he buried part of the gold next to a large tent-shaped rock, he was telling the truth. When you fly over this location, there's a giant tent-shaped rock there you can't miss. Clayton saw this from the air and concluded it to be Jackson's location. We have been over it as well. Here's a pic. The location that I have, Kaiser explains, is on the other side of what is known as Old Pierre Mountain. And tell me why. By accident? Kaiser asks as he takes a long drag from his cigarette, and as I do from mine. Well, before he died, Slumach told and drew him a map of where he found the gold. Don Waite's interview with Amanda Charnley. Yes, I am familiar with the Waite asshole's claim to fame. I think the answer is clear. The old Cathy shaman Peter Pierre was with Slumach in his last days. Old Pierre Mountain is called that because Peter Pierre knew where the gold was. He knew it was Jackson's Canyon below the mountain. But the canyon can be found by Gatsby is not the main gold vein. It's over on the other side of the mountain from where you think it is, Daryl. When I was flying over the area, there was a massive quartz vein on the mountain going over towards your side, I said. I can't just give up my baby yet. Let's just say Old Pierre Mountain is the key. You figure it out. You tell me where the mine is. What about the tent-shaped rock? Out.